voice, brand new Big Boy featuring Mary J. Blige, Reflex, DJ Ski, The Takeover. Let's go.
Don't get it mixed up. Me too, I have insomnia at times, but don't be walking around here blind. Feeling all around, trying to find the righteous path. It's appealing when I rhyme, so every time I hit the masses, you know the common folk, blue collar day-to-day workers that squeeze a dollar so they baby can swallow a little, not a lot of, just enough to fill that bottle. But it's $1 million a gallon for some gas to get to work tomorrow. That's if you got a gig and can't swim in carpool. You rob Peter to pay Paul to make dues. Make you wanna write a note and take a pistol to that bank too, then pass it to the teller. But you know better.
They're trying to tell us to stay strong, but every day we're losing jobs. From College Park out to Beverly Hills, something's gonna have to give.
Welcome to the Genesis Men's Hour. I know I'm not on my right camera yet, but we'll get there. My name is Wendell Ellis. I'm the host of the Genesis Men's Hour. And before we get started, I'd certainly like to give a shout out to our wonderful producer and our DJ, Roger Horton. Roger gives us hot music every month. And for those of us that are coming from a hip-hop, the original hip-hop generation, we love the music that we hear opening the Genesis Men's Hour shows. It's always relevant to the topic and the discussion and the guests that we have. We're excited to be here. My name is Wendell Ellis. I'm the executive director of the Genesis Men's program. Also the host of the Genesis Men's Hour. This is a live, 1-hour live call-in show. We're excited to have you engage in the conversation that we have about community issues that are relevant to what's going on in the city of Cincinnati. We know this weekend is the 20th celebration of the Black Family Reunion, and so we expect everybody to be down at Sawyer Point eating chicken wings, barbecue, pulled pork, ice cream, and enjoying the wonderful exhibits, the booths, the music. It goes live R&B today at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's some hot acts that are going to be down at the Black Family Reunion. So if there's nothing else you should be doing, you should be down at the Black Family Reunion today and tomorrow. Tomorrow we know there's additional concerts and a gospel fest. We're excited to always have the Black Family Reunion in the city of Cincinnati. We have one of the only Black Family Reunions across the country. And so we're excited to host this, and this is the 20th anniversary. For those of us that have been there 1 through 20, it's an exciting part of the summer, concluding the summer for African-American families and those and other community members that can be exposed to some of the African-American culture events in the city of Cincinnati. My name is Wendell. I've been hosting this show now for on and off for 11 years. Yeah, I think we started in October 97, so we're coming up on our 11th year anniversary of doing this show. We're always excited to come into your homes live to provide information about what's going on in the community, also to support those programs and those organizations that are doing the good work. Before we jump into our guest, I want to give my usual shout-outs. Of course, I want to shout out my mama. Mother, how are you doing? It was great to see you on your birthday this past week. My mother celebrated another birthday on Thursday. She's 74 years old, so she's 74 years young. Forgive me, Mama. So I'd always like to say, give a shout out to my mother and appreciation for everything that she's provided for me. And also I'd like to give a shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals, Marvin, Coach Lewis. We've been begging for tickets for a long time now. Of course, those tickets can be sent to the Genesis Men's Program, 727 Ezra Charles Drive, 45203, in care of yours truly, Wendell Ellis. I'll make sure that the men in the program get to the football game and continue to support the Bengals. We're excited about the Bengals this year. They have a tremendous schedule, a great opportunity to show the NFL that they're a world-class, first-rate Super Bowl championship team. So we're supporting the Cincinnati Bengals in their endeavors. We'd also like to send a shout-out to the Reds. We know they're struggling. They just came off of a skid, but they came off of a skid. So there's light at the end of the tunnel. We'd also like to say to Dunn and Griffey Jr. that are no longer with the Cincinnati Reds. Hope you have a great opportunity with your new teams with the White Sox and the Diamondbacks. But now what we want to do is get into the Genesis Men's Hour, which focuses on community issues. Today we have a guest. We have several guests that represent a program in the city of Cincinnati that is in need of your help, your assistance. We have a program that is dealing with financial issues, and we understand that financial times are tough in this country, but if we all provide some assistance, and if those of us out there that are connected to foundations and family trusts can connect to this organization, then I think that the city of Cincinnati will benefit and continue to benefit tremendously from the efforts and the work that this organization has been successful in completing over the past few years. When we think about a lot of issues in Cincinnati, we think about violence and the escalation of violence from the April 2001 riots. We look at the number of gunshot victims in the city of Cincinnati, and we have an organization that has really been working and advocating for victims, for gunshot victims and people, victims of violent crime. We know that several men in the Genesis Men's program have been a part of this organization. They've benefited tremendously from this organization, and we're excited to have them as one of our community partners. In the world of nonprofit, you have to find partnerships. There is no one-stop shopping. There's no one organization that can provide all the answers and all the solutions. There is no one-stop shop. That we know that we have to utilize all the resources in our community, particularly in these struggling financial times, to be able to help individuals move from being unemployed to employed, to being undereducated to being educated, and particularly for those individuals that are dealing and have been victims of violent crime, to move them back into a position of being healthy. So we have a t-shirt that we want to hold up, and I hope you can see it. It talks about the violence. It says, "The hearts of mothers are crying." It says, "Stop the violence, out of the crossfire." So this is a t-shirt that they have that represents some of their issues and some of their opportunities. We know that the organization on the back of the t-shirt, they've been sponsored by the University of Cincinnati Surgeons, University of Cincinnati Hospital Health Alliance, the Cincinnati Bar Association, and they have a website, www.outofthecrossfire.com. So we're excited to bring to this show today Dr. Jennifer Williams, who is the executive director of the organization, and Lorenza Eppes, who is a member of the organization. Dr. Williams?
Good afternoon, and thanks for having us. We are really excited to be here today. Out of the Crossfire is soon to celebrate its second birthday anniversary.
Excellent.
We opened our doors August 21st, 2006, and it has been a really full 2 years. Our organization was established because the amount of violence, the level of violence in Cincinnati, as around the country, is increasing more and more. And around the early 2000s, Dr. J. Joe Hannickman, who is Chief of Trauma Surgery at University Hospital, and Dr. Kenneth Davis Jr., who is Vice Chair of the Trauma Surgery Department, were growing increasingly weary of patching up young, promising bodies only to send them back out to the same environments with the same attitude, and they're coming back with more gunshot wounds or even worse injuries 3-6 months later. And when it got to the point where they were coming back on a first-name basis, "Hey, Dr. J, how's the wife and kids?" Because they'd been back that often, they said, well, somebody's got to do something. And they decided that they would pick up the banner and try to establish some sort of an intervention. So they looked around the country for other promising programs, and sadly, there aren't that many. But there's one in particular in Baltimore, the Shock Trauma Center, Dr. Carnell Cooper's leadership, that most closely fit our situation and the population we're trying to serve. So they came back after seeing Dr. Cooper's program, which has been in business at that time for 12 years, and put together a presentation. They were so excited, and they shopped that to everybody who would listen. And everybody, without exception, said, "Wonderful, great, good job, attaboy, go for it." But we don't have any money. And so they heard that sad refrain over and over until finally, in spring of 2006, the Cincinnati Bar Foundation, which is the philanthropic arm of the Cincinnati Bar Foundation, our lawyers, said, "We will provide you with at least some seed money so you can get your doors open and begin to serve this population so badly in need." And so with that seed money, they were able to hire me, and I have been blessed to actually get the program formatted and put it together, and the rest is kind of history. My population are people who are injured from violent injuries, penetrating trauma we call it, and that could be anything from, we're interested more particularly in intentionally inflicted violent injury, where somebody meant to hurt you, and those are usually gunshot wounds or stab wounds. The majority of my clients are African American males, 80%, and they're under the age of 34 years. There are some lower than that,